In 2008, I was in a bicycle accident. I was going down a hill, and I had my helmet on. At the bottom of the hill, there was thick mud and water. And I have no memory of this, thank God. I was thrown like 30 feet. And I also will put my left hand on the left side of my swollen face with my arms when they weren't restrained, and rarely turned my head to that side to begin with. I believe I was telling everybody a message. I was in pain. So, several months after I finally returned home, I was very confused and shocked. What on earth happened to me? Why am I behaving the way I am? A neuro-ophthalmologist was a physician, came to do an intensive eye exam because I was starting to have visual problems. And he saw me as I'm walking to him, just kept staring at me. He's looking down at his computer, at the CT in back of me. He goes, "I can't believe you're walking me." He goes, "Bridgid, you're a miracle." I looked at him like, "What are you talking about? You're talking a foreign language to me." Because I didn't really believe this accident happened. I was just in a bad dream. So many of my colleagues and a good friend and a nurse that took care of me that I was dying. With much confusion and utter fear, I called a woman who was a spiritual and psychological counselor. With her clairvoyance, she told me that angels were behind my head, gently telling me I was dying. I was walking on a trail with my mom before we were going to head out, and all of a sudden the dizziness starts. I have no idea what it was, maybe been a little anxiety about going to Des Moines and having to present at a brain injury conference with my mom. Who knows? But it got bad enough that I needed to sit down. And then it became worse and worse. And I thought, well, just stand up and try to go a little farther. You can. Well, unfortunately, I couldn't. I was down on the ground, and my mom and I were the only ones on the trail, so she walked as fast as she could at 77 to go get the car, to come get me. But in the time it took her to go back home, which was probably half a mile, there was nobody. So what I did, because there's a maneuver I could show you about if we had more time, but it's something I was taught called the applaudissement maneuver. But I didn't remember how to do it, so I laid down and tried to lay on my side, and I said, "Okay, angels, I need your help again." And I waited for a while, and I said, "Okay, do you think anybody could come my way?" But Mom came, and then out of nowhere, a man came walking his dog, and so they helped me stand up, and boom, I start to vomit out of complete embarrassment. So they let me sit down again, and boom, down I go vomiting. But they somehow were able to get me to the car. So I got there, and once I took the medicine, though my mom wanted me to head to Des Moines so bad, I thought, I can't be in the car. I ended up sleeping for 21 hours, but I'm still here. So, and I missed Des Moines, but cleaning, memory tasks, problem solving, and come on, skills of driving. See, I can't even read that word right now. This is giving you an idea of aphasia. Anyway, I'm not sure what it is. So I still have poor math skills, which is kind of embarrassing. It's better than it was. I forget how to play simple games. I could never help with the kids' homework. And I'm also lost on what is to occur today. I did remember this, though, and I have to write things on several different calendars, and I still will forget the next day. There's been times when I've walked outside and I'm standing there, and I have no idea what I'm standing there for. No clue. No, this happened in my 40s, so no, this is not presenile dementia in my mind. Anyway, there are safety awareness of all these is the number one concern. And one of the head honchos, occupational therapies, took me out for walking, which I could finally do without people holding on to me. So I was thrilled to be outside, having been in the hospital for so long. And so we're walking across the street, and I looked. It was a one-way street. Nobody was coming. So I thought, cool. I walked over, and she said, "Oh, you were inappropriate." I went, "What?" "You walked on that can be a very busy street. You should have looked twice." Then she told me I wouldn't be good enough to go home at discharge. I would go to a nursing home. Oh. She also then said, "It's going to take you so long to learn how to drive a car." She made me feel as if I had no true potential, and thus I felt like a failure. But then that other piece of me came through, and I said, "I'm going to show you." I got home for the first time. I overheard my nieces say to my daughter, "Your mom talks like a baby." Youch. Because I couldn't read, my mom would read stories to me. Or my sister gave me a CD of somebody else's story who's a brain injury survivor. It helps us. Once again, my mom was there. When I was in speech therapy, I started reading at a 3rd grade level. And they say that in 1 year, I had to go 3 to 4 times a week, and in 1 year I improved to a 9th grade level. And I didn't believe them, because I was not me. 9th grade, that didn't even sound like I was a 9th grade reader. I read 2 to 3 times, and it can't be much. Even looking at a paragraph like this, I just go, ah. So I'll have to read it 2 to 3 times. I've learned to highlight sentences, ones that are really important for me to try to remember. And the other thing, which to me is like any of us, not just me as a 3-year-old, but any of us, is when things are troubling you, you can't get it, take a time out. It's amazing. I stand back and I'm trying to type something or whatever, it's just like, stop. Move to the side. Just stop. And it comes right back. So what I've told by speech therapists is that we have never seen anyone with traumatic brain injury improve so dramatically with reading, writing, and aphasia. I was shocked. And I denied this since I still wasn't the real me. I cried often, and I'm told so frequently, "Bridgid, you are so hard on yourself." With my final surgery, I had outstanding care from the nurses, even the one who previously thought I was dying. It's awesome she was able to care for me alive. I'll tell you about this one too in a second. So seizures occur, which I finally figured out when I forget to take a nap. I usually need 2 hours, but when things have been too much, I'm down 3 hours. And I have to pay attention to that instead of going, "You're not getting anything done. What are you doing sleeping?" I can't help it. It's not in my control. When I'm overloaded with tasks, I have the vertigo, the balance issues, the stress. When I've had decreased seizure drug levels, because sometimes I forget. Any kind of infection and worsening, like I said, aphasia. And what I've learned over time is what happens to me, I get this sensation, what we call an aura. And none of us usually are able to say what that means. It's this feeling I get in my chest that's telling me, it's time. Sit down. Do nothing else. I also have simple partial seizures, and the only way I found this out is I was in an epilepsy support group, which is key. Support groups are key for any suffering we have. It's you're fully conscious with unusual sensations. And I usually remember what happens during a seizure, but this type of seizure doesn't last very long. It can affect our movement, our emotions, and the senses we have, like smell. They're only a few seconds to a few minutes. And to give you an example of the sense of smell is, I was getting in the car to drive somewhere short, and I go in and it just smells horrible, diarrhea. I'm like, now I know I didn't do that. So did one of my kids? What happened? And so I just decided to keep driving and put down the windows so I can smell better. And then all of a sudden, I was maybe going 1.5 miles, and all of a sudden the car smelled of gasoline. Intense gasoline. I'm like, great, what did I do this time? But once I got to the place where I was going to exercise, it stopped. That's an example. But I learned this from other people that suffer the same disease. I could go into, there's something with every single one that I have. I struggle with, but I'm better. I thought, and I kind of understand now, that parenting would be, twice as hard for survivors to go home and such. And people looked at me, professionals said, Bridgid, it's 6 to 10 times as hard. And now I sort of understand. I still am a little mad at her for that occupational therapist said, you're going home, not home, at a nursing home. And one daughter said, Mom, I'm not as close to you as I was before. You make so many mistakes. They wanted me back, but I'm not her anymore. They're frustrated with my memory loss, my emotional mood swings, my fatigue, my balance issues, my aphasia, my loss of intelligence, easily startled, and recurrent seizures. I'm finally understanding is what my family was experiencing and continues to work through, like bewilderment, denial, fear, anger, sadness, etc. They suffer from all that I suffered. I wasn't alone, and I can now appreciate where an advocate or family member of someone, how bad they are suffering as well.